The Last Word by Judith Ortiz Cofer. I did that, says my memory. I did not, says my pride, and memory yields. Nietzsche. Beyond Good and Evil. My mother opens the photo album to a picture of my father as a very young man in an army uniform. She says to me, "You have not met your father yet when this photograph was taken. He left for Panama when I was a couple of months pregnant with you and didn't get back until you were 2 years old." I have my own memories about this time of my life, but I decided to ask her a few questions anyways. It's always fascinating to me to hear her version of the past we shared, to see what shades of pastel she will choose to paint on my childhood summer afternoon. "How did I react to his homecoming?" I asked my mother, whose eyes were already glazing over with grief and affection for her husband. My father, dead in a car wreck now for over a decade. There are a few pictures of him in middle age in her album. She prefers to remember him as the golden boy she married, forever a young man in military uniform coming home laden with the gifts from exotic places for us. "You were the happiest little girl on the island, I believe," she says, smiling down at his picture. "After a few days of getting acquainted, you two were inseparable. He took you everywhere with him." "Mother," I say, in spite of my resolve, I'm jarred by the disparity of our recollections of this event. "Was there a party for him when he returned? Did you roast a pig out in the backyard? I remember a fire and an accident involving me." She lifts her eyes to meet mine. She looks mildly surprised. "You were only a baby. What is it that you think happened on that day?" "I remember that I was put in a crib and left alone. I remember many people talking, music, laughter." I want her to finish the story. I want my mother to tell me that what I remember is true. But she's stubborn too. Her memories are precious to her, and although she accepts my explanations that what I write in my poems and stories is mainly the product of my imagination, she wants certain things she believes are true to remain sacred, untouched by my fictions. "And what is this accident you remember? What do you think happened at your father's homecoming party?" Her voice has taken on the deadly serious tone it has always made me swallow hard. I'm about to be set straight. I decide to forge ahead. This is just an experiment, I tell myself. I'm comparing notes on the past with my mother. This can be managed without resentment. After all, we're both intelligent adults. I climbed out of the crib and walked outside. I think I fell into the fire. My mother shakes her head. She is now angry, and worse, disappointed in me. She turns the pages of the book until she finds my birthday picture. A short while after his return from Panama, my father is supposed to have spent a small fortune giving me the fanciest birthday party ever seen in our pueblo. He wanted to make up for all the good times together we had missed. My mother has told me the story dozens of times. There are many photographs documenting the event. Every time I visit a relative, someone brings out an album and shows me a face I've memorized. That a very solemn 2-year-old, dressed in a fancy dress, sent by an aunt from New York just for the occasion, surrounded by toys and decorations, a huge ornate cake in front of me. I'm not smiling in any of these pictures. My mother turns the album towards me. "Where were you burned?" she asks, letting a little irony sharpen the hurt in her voice. "Does that look like a child who was neglected for one moment?" "So what really happened on that day, Mummy?" I ask. I look at the 2-year-old's face again. There is a celebration going on around her, but her eyes and my memory tell me that she's not a part of it. There was a little accident involving the fire that day, my mother says in a gentler voice. She's the keeper of the past. As the main witness of my childhood, she has the power to refute my claims. This is what happened. You were fascinated by a large book your father had brought home from his travels. I believe it was a foreign language dictionary. We couldn't pry it away from you, though it was almost as big as you. I took my eyes off of you for one moment. Un momentito nada más, hija. And you somehow dragged the book into the pit where we were roasting a pig, and you threw it in. Do you know why I did that, Mother? I'm curious to hear her explanation. I dimly recall early mentions of a valuable book I supposedly did away with in a distant past. Why do children do anything? The fire attracted you. Maybe you wanted attention. I don't know. But she shakes her finger at me in mock accusation. If you remember a burning feeling, the location of this fire was where you're little behind. I gave you some pun pun to make sure you didn't try anything like that ever again. We both laugh at her use of the baby word for a spanking that I had not heard her say in decades. Is this really what happened? Es la pura verdad, she says. Nothing but the truth. But that's not how I remember it.